Wednesday, December 20th. We've got another edition of Playing GM here on the Just Baseball Show. I'm RM Layton. He's Peter Apple. We're going to be talking, I think, two of the more intriguing teams. And it's not a coincidence because we had a couple options, Peter, and you picked two very exciting teams right now. We're going to be talking about the Rays and the Giants, who I think are going to be busy on the other side of the holiday. But something I know that you wanted to start off with, Peter, is the fact that Yoshinobu Yamamoto at the other side of the holiday is going to start to be on a clock here to make his decision. So that's where it's going to get really fun. And I think the free agent market is really going to start picking up there. We'll start with the Yamamoto, man, because I think it's so fascinating. Again, you brought it up before we started recording that, hey, man, you get a 45-day posting window. He's already churning through those 45 days. Again, not much happens during the couple holidays, days. I think, it depends on the GM, but generally speaking, it's kind of a, hey, let's take a couple days off. So the clock's going to start ticking after the 25th.
Clock is going to start ticking. And I wanted to bring up Yamamoto for a couple of reasons. One, he's the number one starting pitcher on the market. So just discussing where he's going to go is always going to be interesting. Number two, I want to debate the contract value because in our Just Baseball group chat, we were talking, is it going to be 250? Is it going to be 300? Is it going to be over 300? I think that discussion in itself is just fascinating. And I also wanted to bring up, because this was something that I think all baseball fans knew when he was initially posted, that he had a 45-day window, but then you keep hearing rumors and you kind of forget about that. But January 4th is his last day to sign. So if he wasn't able to sign by that day, he's going back to the MPB. So
Which, of course,
he's not going to do. He is going to sign, but these past couple of weeks, I think for him was a discovery phase, right? He's coming over to a new league. He doesn't know all about these teams. He doesn't know all about Steve Cohen and the Mets. He doesn't know about everything about the Dodgers and the Yankees and the Red Sox and these rivalries. So he's been bouncing from team to team, and he's requested meetings on behalf of himself. It's not like these teams are saying, hey, we want a second, we want a third. Of course they do. But he is making those decisions, which he has done now with the New York Yankees and a couple of other teams. So in this discussion, I wanted to talk about what type of contract, where he's going to go, and remind people that he only has a couple of weeks left. But before we get into it, the Just Baseball Show is brought to you by BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. Use promo code JustBaseball when you sign up and deposit into your newly created account. Download the BetMGM Sports app on iOS or Android, or visit BetMGM.com. Place your first bet offer and receive up to $1,500 back arm in bonus bets if it loses. Are you kidding me? If the bet does lose, your bonus bets will be available once the wager is settled. Gambling problem? Call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 21 or older. Terms and conditions apply. Let's debate contract.
Yeah.
That's the fun part.
Yeah, and it's funny because it's like, it's not really about what he's worth. And it's almost impossible to be able to discern exactly what a player is worth, given the fact that we have not even seen him throw one pitch in Major League Baseball. That said, I just put together a thread, which I'll link, in the episode description. And, we also have had the YouTube video and all those things that we've done to kind of show how special Yamamoto is, how unique he is. But it's like $300 million for a guy that you have not seen throw a pitch in Major League Baseball. We saw him in the World Baseball Classic, but a little bit different. I think is crazy. But at the same time, like, it seems like the market is crazy, and it seems like the frenzy for Yamamoto is also crazy. What's interesting is I think Jeff Passan put out a fantastic piece just kind of diving into who Yamamoto is as a human being, and that's on ESPN. I'm pretty sure it's unlocked, even if you don't have ESPN Plus or whatever the subscription, you need to be able to read all of those articles. I think it's really fascinating that in that piece, and kind of as a tweet to go with that piece, he mentioned that he has not had one of those $300 million offers yet. And we had seen some reports, I think it was Jim Bowden, I think it was somebody else as well, that said he had multiple $300 million offers. Now Passan said, pump the brakes, not yet. That doesn't mean he's not going to get a $300 million contract, which I know I'm going to give the floor to you to make your pitch on why you think it will be that high. But I also think it's interesting because I don't think we're really there yet where teams are putting in their best offer. So that report always seemed a little bit fuzzy and a little bit weird. And now Jeff Passan kind of puts a little bit more context to that. What I think is interesting is the thing that you highlighted is the fact that Yamamoto and these teams, but I think largely Yamamoto as well, really want to get to know each other. And that makes sense, right? We don't have MLB video to work on. We don't have many players to talk to, coaches to talk to who, may know him as a human being. So now the more that these teams get to know this guy, I think the Mets have had him over for dinner a couple times, right? He was at Steve's house. You mentioned the Yankees having multiple meetings. They might just get more and more comfortable with Yamamoto, the human, and then all of a sudden that dollar figure goes up and up and up because they've got all the metrics available to show you how unique this guy is as Yamamoto, the pitcher.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I definitely think he is worth $300 million, but will he get $300 million is a different question.
Exactly.
Let me take you back about 9 years ago. 2014, Masahiro Tanaka signs a 7-year, $155 million deal with the New York Yankees at 25 years old. So we've seen a young Japanese phenom pitcher come over at this age and get a big time contract. But now we're talking about a deal that could double the AAV that Masahiro Tanaka when he came over. And Tanaka was a great pitcher in the MPB. I think Yamamoto is a little bit better when we're looking at the numbers, but in terms of a talent, they're not that far off, right? Yamamoto is better, and the AAVs have changed, right? Tyler Glasnow has not thrown more than 120 innings in a season, and he's a couple of years older and just signed a 5-year, $135 million deal. Now, it's a 4-year extension off his original 1-year deal that he's paying $25 million a year this year. But we're seeing pitchers get paid more and more, and especially in this market, when's the next time you could get a guy who could potentially be a top 10 pitcher as soon as he comes over at 25 years
Yeah.
old? And when you're considering that the Verlanders and the Scherzers of the world, I know they're older, it's a shorter deal, but they're getting paid $43 million a year. What's to say that they want to pay Yamamoto from age 25 to 35, $30 million a year? That's a 10-year deal. That's $300 million. But
Yeah.
on top of it, you got to pay a posting fee that's going to be what? What's the posting fee? $40 million?
Yeah, Jack did the math there. I forget what the exact number was, but it was something along those lines where it was just like, okay, that's almost another year. It's basically another year on the contract or more. So that is an important thing to factor in too, right? Because it may impact what we would see the value of the contract being, but if he signs for 275 and then the posting fees 30, 40, whatever the math was that Jack put together. I wish I had the number, on the top of my head, but that's still technically a $300 million contract and obligation to go get that pitcher. So it is interesting. And I think that part of it, though, will potentially drive it down a little bit. But then again, we see Jung-Hoo Lee, who we didn't think he was going to push over 100, and totally different case, but seemed like the posting fee wasn't an issue with Jung-Hoo Lee. So it's very fascinating. And I think from your angle, the part that really does kind of sway me to, ooh, it could be closer to 300 because I kind of reside in the closer to 250 range in terms of where I think it's going to end up is, you look at the Garrett Cole contract, and I know Cole had a lot of big league success under his belt and all those, things that you love to see from just a bona fide ace and innings eater and that kind of guy. But he was also 29, right, when he signed that deal. And it was a 9-year deal at 36 million average annual value. So like that's a fair template. You figure lower AAV, similar years, maybe you're still in that 300 range. So it does seem possible. I just wonder how much the posting fee is going to factor in and how much, teams are really willing to shell out. Because if you do agree to a $300 million contract, you're going towards 350 now by the time you factor in the posting fee. So what's your final prediction, both financially and where he goes?
See, I'm about to go crazy on you because you compare him to the Garrett Cole contract. Let's say he doesn't get 36. Let's say he gets 30, right? But he is 4 years younger, and they were willing to give Garrett Cole a 9-year deal. And it's not like Yamamoto is coming over with big injury concerns, right? This is not a TJ guy. This is not a double TJ guy. This is a guy with a relative clean bill of health. And then when you factor in all the big dogs are the one fighting over him, right? Steve Cohen has about $10 trillion in his bank account. The Yankees are the Yankees. The Dodgers have proven they might just start paying Yamamoto in 2075, right? And then the Red Sox, they have yet to make a major splash. So not only could you consider that even if there wasn't a bidding war, that he could be worth $30 million a year over 10 years, you got big markets all fighting for him in a market where the other starting pitchers there's a lot of question marks, right? With a Blake Snell, with a Marcus Stroman, with some of these guys. And then you move to the trade market. Well, you could trade for Dylan Cease, but it's going to cost prospect capital, right? And he's coming off his worst season. Corbin Burns, he's a big fish, but he's going to cost a ton. So that's why I think Yamamoto is the big fish. I'm going 11 years, $330 million for Yoshinobu Yamamoto. I know it sounds crazy, but what did I say? What have we been saying for years on this podcast? The pitching market is absurd. It always blows away. Can I remind you that Taijuan Walker and James Attard got $80 million? Who still blow me away? They'll still blow me away. Like, I think he's going to get buku bucks.
Look, I on to make your case, to say the part where I agree with you, is that nothing would surprise me.
Nothing surprises me anymore.
Nothing would shock me.
500 million, I'd be like, all right.
So that's very fair. And I think it's like, I'm trying to operate as if my job was on the line. And I almost need to remove myself from that, because like some of these GMs are just reckless. These front office guys, they don't give a shit.
They don't give a shit.
Most of them do now, because
they might not be there in 11 years.
Yeah, exactly. But this decision could be what's held over their head if it doesn't go well. So it becomes like this unique two-way street. I just think the idea of giving a guy who is yet to pitch here more than 9 years blows my mind. So I'm still going to stick with 9 years at about 30 to 32. I'll say 32 mil a year at 9 years. And that would bring you to what? Just shy of 300. I need a calculator. 9 times 32. Anybody? I hope somebody listening right now is just automatically just said like, oh, it's 288. Like, how'd you miss that? So I'm going to go a little bit shorter. I'm going to go 8 at 33 a year. So that'll give me 264.
Are you telling me if Yamamoto is on the market for 8 years, 264 million, Steve Cohen won't give him the extra year? And then the Yankees hear about it and they're like, fine, we'll go 10. Dodgers hear about it too. That's the thing, is like, that's, I think, the starting point. And then these teams are just going to come in needing a guy like this, because these franchises are also all at pivotal points when it comes to their starting rotations.
Oh, yeah.
The Mets need him. The Yankees need him. The Dodgers, I would argue, kind of need him. The Red Sox need him. Like, it's not just, oh, this would be a great player to have. This is the need for a lot of these teams, and they're all big markets. I think the contract is going to shock the world. That's kind of my
I hope so.
Is I keep getting into this where I'm like, he might get more than I think. He might get more than I think. And then I landed on a crazy deal. I hope he gets more than what I said.
I do too. I hope you're right. Like, it's just fun. I just think it's funny to watch people lose their mind over the dollar figures. I will say too, I think that if it is a contract like you're saying, which could be very possible, it'll be a super nuanced one where there's maybe unique opt-outs, maybe there's escalators. Like, we're seeing them get creative. Jung-Hoo Lee has, a player option in his deal. Maybe there's a player option in some of these deals that maybe he prefers that and is willing to take a little bit less for a player option to have that flexibility. So that might be the unique thing too, because it seems like Yamamoto, of course, he wants the most money, but it also seems like he's also very focused on the team and the fit and all of that good stuff too. So if a team maybe comes forward and says, hey, we'll give you an opt-out after 4 years, we'll do this and this and this, all the things that you wanted, and this is the best fit for you, maybe he takes a little bit less. But I do agree with you where if it seems like Stevie Cohen really wants this to happen, I feel like he's just going to call his accountant and be like, does this matter at all? Of course, I already know the answer. Hang up and say, all right, here's a blank check, and make it happen. And I don't think that's crazy at all, because guys like Yamamoto don't come over, really ever. And people can say Roki Sasaki. I think Yamamoto is way, way, way safer as just a durability type of side of things, arsenal side of things, and just, I think, how established he is from what we've seen. So I don't know. It's going to be really fun. You have your what'd you say? 3? What was the number?
I'm going 11 years, $330 million.
Holy shit. That'd be awesome.
And I think he signs with the New York Mets. And I think that's what happens. I do think it's going to be between the Yankees. I think the Yankees and the Mets are going to be the final two. And I think what's going to eventually tip over is Steve Cohen doing exactly what you just said, being like, I am not about to get beat by my crosstown rival for this guy. I am not. We have Kodai Senga. we have the money. We're going to be the team to go get Yamamoto.
Yeah.
And that's what I think it is. The reason I go to 11 years, 330 is Steve Cohen. I think
Yeah.
he just blows the shit out of everybody out of the water and says, no one's giving you this. We may
That's
not be the Dodgers. We may not be the Yankees, but we want to be better than the Yankees. And you're going to be the piece. You're not going to be in anybody's shadow because the entire thing is Yamamoto has an affinity for the spotlight, right? Wants to be in the New York market, wants to be in LA, wants to be in Boston, wants to be the guy. When you go to New York, you're not going to be the guy. Garrett Cole's the guy. Aaron Judge is the guy. Juan Soto's the guy. You can be one of the guys. Dodgers, same thing. In Queens, you're now the highest paid player on the team, Lindor as well, but you're kind of the guy,
and you're
especially on
getting
the
the
mound.
ball. You're getting the ball every game you
Game
need to
one.
win. Every game you need to win, he's getting the ball. And I think that is an interesting side of it as well. And you get all the luxuries of being in New York that come with the Yankees. But now with this Mets team that I think in these meetings, these dinner parties that they've had, I think they're really selling them, selling Yamamoto on the, the plan and what they're trying to do and build a sustainable winner. Because this isn't a 2-year decision. There's potentially a 10 or in your case, an 11-year decision where this could be a really this could be his whole career here. So I'm really excited to see where it shakes out. And ironically, one of the teams that should have a chance at him, but you mentioned the market and some other aspects, might end up making it a little bit complicated. But that's one of the teams we're going to do playing GM on right now. We'll talk about it. I think the San Francisco Giants are going to make a push for Yamamoto. I think ultimately it's just going to be Yamamoto's decision to. I mean, you got Boston as well, which he's the guy there. And
Yeah.
I think they could surprise and make a push between Boston, both New Yorks. And I just think those teams alone. And then you factor in LA. It seems like San Francisco's on the outside looking in. That said, and we'll go through all of the free agent, additions. There hasn't been a ton, but also where they're at in regards to like the CBT. But they've got about $70 million to work with below the CBT, a little bit more than that. They have some players that are expiring in the next couple years that will give them some more financial flexibility. We'll go through the whole roster together here, but my takeaway right away, and I'm just curious going into that, what your takeaway is. For me, it's they got to find some pitching ASAP, whether it's Yamamoto or anybody else. Like, I think that's got to be number one priority, right?
Absolutely number one priority. And we'll talk about it, when we get into playing the general manager, but it has to be, right? I look at their roster right now and the offense, I'm not going to do much to it. We're going to talk about it, but the rotation has to be the number one priority. Aren't you a little tired of pitching the Giants and all these free agents and they never end up doing anything?
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
aren't we tired of saying that the Orioles are going to get these guys? Like, for me at this point, I'm growing tired of giving the Giants credit to be able to sign these guys. I just am. And
They
they're
did
in on
grab Lee.
everybody. And they did get Jung Hoo Lee. Congrats, right? I don't think that they can compete with the Yankees and the Mets and the Red Sox and the Dodgers.
No.
They just haven't proven it. So until they do prove it, I'm not going to give them that credit. Same thing with the
That's fair
Orioles
enough.
in terms of getting big time players. Like, I'm not going to give these teams the credit until they prove it. So with that said, before we get into the Giants, before we get into the Rays, give me your prediction.
Okay. I said Boston originally, so I'll stick with it, even though I think the Mets are the most likely, I think, from the financial standpoint, but I could see him falling in love with the Boston market, going there playing with Yoshida. So I'm going to stick with the Red Sox at 9 years and kind of adding up to around 270 million.
You tell me that Steve Cohen's not going to get word of that deal that they're getting through it and be like, we'll
Hey,
give you $500 trillion.
but if Yamamoto says, I didn't like the food you served, I didn't like the way the dinner went, and I'm out.
He
Then
could
what are
say
you going
that.
to do, Stevie? Money can't get you out of that one.
It's true, but then the Yankees might hear that the Red Sox are getting Yamamoto. That's why it's just these guys are just going to compete with each other. And you've been the guy on the forefront, right? Yamamoto, we were talking about him a year ago. Like, we saw him at the World Baseball Classic. You're obsessed with this guy.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm a little bit surprised you're coming in low too, knowing the bidding war and your belief in how good he's going to be. How many threads, how many articles, how many YouTube videos have you done on this guy, watching him and thinking to yourself, this guy's next?
Yes.
If you were the general manager, if you were in David Stern's shoes, you're giving him 300 plus million. If you got Cohen money in the bank, you're doing it.
I am. If Cohen says this ain't your fault, I'm authorizing over that.
Of course
Sure.
he's going to
But
do that.
You know I love Yamamoto, but there's the one thing that prevails above all, and it's my hatred for pitchers as
Yeah,
prospects.
that's true.
So,
You just hate
so,
pitchers.
so this guy, like, it's already insane that I want to give this guy anything. No, it's just like pitchers freak me out, and Yamamoto's probably the biggest exception to that because of, I mean, you gotta, if you haven't seen the videos of what he can do, the way he can, he's like a
He's
contortionist. It's
amazing.
the crazy. It's insane. He doesn't even lift weights. He's just
Yeah.
ripped off of doing like yoga and contortions and like throwing javelins. Like that is the one guy I will break my mold for, and I do think that some other teams may feel that way. But I'm sticking with my prediction. I don't want to. I don't want to change it. But I hear what you're saying, and we got yours too now, right? So you're saying Yankees?
No, I'm saying Mets. I
Oh,
think
you're saying
11
Mets. You're saying
years,
Mets. Okay.
330.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think the Yankees are the second team. I think they give him the 10th year, and Steve Cohen says, I will not be outbid, and
Okay.
gives him the 11th. That's
Fair
what I
enough.
think. I think the Dodgers and the Red Sox, I think the Red Sox literally offer what you say. And I think the Yankees are
Yeah.
like, nope, we're not letting him go to Boston. And then Steve Cohen says, we're not letting him go anywhere else.
That'd be pretty. That's a dream. I think Yamamoto's. If you're Yamamoto's agent, you know you're dreaming of that, right? You're
Wolf.
that's like the dream scenario. Pit all the big markets against each other. You also forget where San Francisco says, "Oh, by the way, we had the same offer as the Red Sox. He just kind of ignored it." Then and then they pivot to another potential arm. So let's go right into the San Francisco Giants here. We're going to do playing GM with the Giants and then the Rays, but quick, a break right before that.